Hey, what's up? It's Andryanna here. I'm so glad that you tuned into this episode. I felt that I needed to share a little bit more from my latest workshop. I definitely have had some rants and have gone off on some journeys of just sharing why I feel and know in my being that it is so important to prioritize yourself. And I think that for many of us, we understand this on sort of that outer level of that external level. And, we get the messages that it's important to care for ourselves. But until it really just sinks in and permeates at that subconscious level, that unconscious awareness that we can have, that knowing that we are the most important people in our own lives, until we truly, truly understand this at a very deep level, it's going to be difficult for us to really implement change and take action every single day, even in small ways that don't leave us maybe feeling guilty or judging ourselves or looking out and judging others. Maybe you're judging me about it because I speak so freely about it. And I want to say that I understand and I see you and I feel you because I definitely was you. I had so many judgments. I'm still getting over some of these judgments and seeing when guilt creeps up in my own life. So I wanted to share this short but sweet snippet from day 3 of my workshop, You First, Making the Shift to Better Balance 2.0, because it really just helped so many people who took part in the workshop. And so I wanted you to have this little nugget and the research that I shared and the analogy that I shared in this little rant. Now, of course, if you want more, if you missed the workshop and you want to take part and you want to go through these 3 sessions on your own time when it works for your schedule, to actually get the beautiful breathwork session, the incredible yin yoga practice, and the extraordinary tapping into your subconscious with hypnotherapy, there is a link in the notes for this podcast episode, and I'm offering it at a pretty incredible price. So if you want to check out and get more information on the 3-day workshop and get those recordings so that you can really, really tap in at a deeper level, head to the notes for this podcast episode. But for now, I will leave you with this short but sweet snippet, and I hope that it really helps and resonates with you. Enjoy. Welcome to the Juggle is Real podcast. I'm your host, Andryanna. A few years ago, burnout nearly cost me that happy, fulfilled life that I'd always dreamed of. Every day left me feeling overwhelmed with stress at work, at home, and just with life in general. I felt like I was constantly running and couldn't catch my breath. So I embarked on a journey of finding better balance, of learning how to prioritize my own needs, of shifting my mindset to live with more ease and balance, of learning how to do more without the pressure of doing it all. And I discovered that letting go of the need for a perfect life opened up opportunities to bring in more joy. So I am sharing my experience and my learnings with you so that you don't have to struggle. I want to show by example how liberating and empowering it can be to silence expectations, to learn how to live through the chaos of work and family with grace, joy, and ease. So what do you think? Are you with me? Let's get started. This episode of The Juggle is Real is sponsored by Pantene Miracle Rescue Shots. Is it just me, or does your hair take a beating during the summer months? I mean, I know we're all up on SPF and skincare, which, don't get me wrong, is totally important. And that's why you won't find me outside without sunscreen and shades on. But I've recently been noticing that my hair needs a little more care. Now that it's summer, I love getting outside more, but all of that sun, the sand, salt, chlorine, all of it can really do a number on my locks. So enter the hero product that I have been using, Pantene Miracle Rescue Shots. It comes in a box of 4 small but mighty ampules of Pantene's most concentrated Pro V formula. And as an in-shower treatment, they deeply repair signs of hair damage, restore moisture, and even help prevent split ends. And I can honestly tell you that I have noticed a visible difference after just one use. I like to think of it as a mini self care spa treatment that I can bring anywhere. My hair always feels so soft. It's like this beautiful, best kept secret. So, when you're out and about this summer in the sand, enjoying the beach, on the road traveling, you are also keeping your hair feeling and looking its best. These Pantene Miracle Rescue Shots will give you visibly healthier, stronger, and shinier hair. And bonus, they fit easily in your travel bags. You can find Pantene Miracle Rescue Shots at your local retailer. Now let's get back to the show. And we're in our third day, our final day of this workshop, but hopefully not the last day that we come together and we grow together and we create better balance in our lives together. I want you to know that you are so supported and that in everything you do throughout this journey, you have ways that you can find support, whether it's by reaching out to me or by doing something for yourself to make yourself come back to that feeling, that internal state of knowing how much you are loved and how worthy you are. These are ways that we can support ourselves. And so that's what we're going to get started on and work on a little bit more today. So with that, I'll just show you what's going down. On day one, we did a little bit of a release. On day two, we went for the reset. And now on day three, we're going to tap into receiving mode so that we can really get all of that good and juicy stuff that we are so worthy of. So we're going to start with a question, the question that I sent to you earlier in the email today of what if it were easy? And we're going to go through an exercise that's going to help us put it all together with a stick figure adaptation. I'm going to go through the 5 pillars of well-being that have been so instrumental in my better balance journey and in helping me create a life that is more mindful and intentional, and allow me to have little goals for myself that I can look towards to making sure that I'm really putting myself first and making myself a priority. And then we're going to go through an exercise where we're actually going to create this plan, a 30-day plan for ourselves so that we can be creating better balance in our everyday life for the month of June. Of course, I mentioned we have those giveaways that we will be drawing for. And then towards the end of our session, we're going to move into action with hypnotherapy that is led by Kelly Maisi, who is here with us today. So after that, we will say our goodbyes, but they're just, for now, they're just so longs, and I hope to stay with you afterwards. So I really wanted to begin today's workshop with a question, and the question is, what if it were easy? Right? Like what if it could just be easy? And this was it might seem like an easy question, it might seem like a simple question, but honestly, hearing this question posed to me was like, there was like a light bulb went off. It was like, what? Like, is that a thing? Can that actually happen? Is that something that we can actually look towards? Because I think sometimes the most exhausting thing is holding on to the idea that things are hard, right? That it has to be hard, that we have to hustle, that anything worth having takes time and struggle, and we have to pay our dues and earn everything through blood and sweat and tears, right? And so sometimes it's easier to just hold on to these stories that we tell ourselves and feel into the unworthiness because they're known to us. They feel comfortable. And even though they aren't serving us, even though they may be really painful actually, and maybe they're harming us, they're familiar to us. And so we keep thinking these thoughts, keep feeling these feelings, and keep doing these things that are part of the stress cycles and the negative patterns, things that we don't like, things that we might actually hate, but we just hang on to it so tightly. We grip onto it because we know it, right? So kind of a quick story, funny story, not really funny, but kind of funny. I just learned about something that was interesting from Dr. Thema Bryant. I'm not sure if you're familiar. She's a psychologist, and she's also a reverend among many other things. She has a podcast as well, and she's a dancer. It looks like she's a pretty cool person. And what she was saying was that, I don't know if you know anyone, or maybe you are the type of person who likes to watch like a crime show, or like a murder mystery, or read murder mysteries, and true crime documentaries right before bed. You might watch a few episodes and then drift off to sleep. Is that anyone here? Feel free, drop a one in the chat if that's you. If you know someone like that, drop a 2 in the chat. I definitely know people who are like this, and it's okay. If the idea of relaxing is to watch murder and crime and attacks, maybe we might want to think about why that is. And according to Dr. Bryant and the many people that she has helped through therapy, it's because they feel it's relaxing, because it feels normal and familiar. Maybe not the murder feeling familiar, but that chaos and that trauma, because many people have grown up in high stress situations. So it feels comforting to them to put themselves in a position where they're watching something on television or reading a book that is a high stress situation, because that is what is comfortable for them. So for sometimes they can mistake peace and serenity and harmony as being boring when they're used to the stress and the trauma. So in order to come home to yourself, you really have to lean into that discomfort, because it's going to feel unfamiliar. And so that is why I'm so grateful that you're here, and I'm so proud of you for working on yourself and for wanting better balance for yourself. Because if it was just as simple as taking a bubble bath or heading to the nail salon, we would all be Zen monks, right? But this is a practice. And just like a muscle, and just like you go to the gym to, work on those pipes, creating better balance in your life is going to be an ongoing practice that you're going to continue day after day. So I just want you to know that it's okay to feel a little bit of that discomfort. And it's okay to have that resistance. In fact, I will say it's normal, like quotation marks around it, whatever that means, but it is common. And so as you continue on your journey, I really want you to lean into that discomfort, because I promise you, as someone who has been there, done that, and kind of come to the other side and continues to push through those different barriers, it's much better on the other side. And I'm sure you've had glimpses of this in your life as well. And so yesterday, I used the analogy of a garden, right? And planting those seeds to make change. And, whatever, sure, you won't have those beautiful peonies or roses or hydrangeas the next day after you plant your seeds, right? But as you tend to it, as you water, nourish, and give light and energy to those seeds, they will start to grow. And weeds will pop up for sure, right? You'll almost always get a few weeds, and you can pluck them out. You don't criticize the garden for having weeds, right? It's just part of gardening, right? So you tend to the seeds and you help them grow, and you pluck out the weeds along the way. And then all of a sudden, you wake up one day and you have these big, beautiful blossoms just blooming in your garden, right? And these flowers, these blooms, they take up so much more room than those little weeds that you've been plucking out, right? And typically what happens is when your flowers are in bloom, they kind of suffocate those weeds out, actually. And so you have this big, beautiful garden that still needs some pruning, right? Still needs some love, still needs some weeding, but these blooms can stand alone, and they can blossom beautifully, and they can shine, and they can stand. But if all you're doing is focusing on the weeds and you're ignoring your seeds, more weeds are going to pop up, and you'll have just a garden of weeds, right? So when you grip onto those stories that we all have, the stressors, and you put all your focus on them, that's what's going to continue to grow, okay? It's really your energy that will allow you to move forward. So when I say thoughts become things, it can go in either direction. The good news, though, is that these stories that we're telling ourselves that are probably made up, probably not real, probably based on things that really have no value to you, they can be rewritten and remodeled. And honestly, it is such a blessing to feel the stress and to have those judgments creep up and to see the negative thoughts come up. Okay, so I don't want you to, again, shame yourself when those negative thoughts come up, blame yourself, feel guilt, and then get into another spiral. These are blessings. These negative feelings are blessings because it actually shows us the contrast, right? And contrast is necessary to show you and make you aware of what you don't want, so then you can decide on and lean into what you really do want. And it's such a beautiful thing. It's such a gift. And this is how we create our own path and our own journey. We do this by deciding that we no longer want to tell ourselves these stories. We want to write new ones. And so that's what we've been doing here these last 3 days. We've been learning how to become aware of and let go of some of our stories, to release those things that we have no control over. That was day 1, right? We've come back to ourselves through forgiveness and compassion, and we've decided on how we want to shift and the seeds that we want to focus on and tend to with our new truths. So in day 2, we reset. And now we're going to take that focus one step further to really feel into our truths and to create a plan that allows us to move forward into action, to see the results that we want to see in our lives, to actually live the phrase thoughts become things in a positive way. And so we can make it simple. We can let it be easy, because the most magical things are the things that we allow to happen. And you know, some people, they'll call it luck or synchronicity, and maybe they're just going to say, oh, she's lucky because things just come easy to her. And they might try to guilt you, and those feelings might creep up. Well, if it's easy, then maybe it's not worth having. Or, you know, maybe I should try to work a little harder, or maybe I need to grind more. These things shouldn't come easy to me. But in changing your energy, in allowing that flow, in upping your frequency, you can be a match to the ease. You can allow it to happen with ease. And then, kind of like your garden, when that's what you're focusing on, the guilt and the negativity and the shame, there's just not as much time and not as much space and not as much energy for it. So I ask you again, what if it were easy? Because it's time now to allow and receive, to feel ease and support to flow into better balance. So how do we feel about that? Does that sound good to you? Type a 1 in the chat if you're ready to just dive right in. Okay, beautiful. Oh, some exclamation marks, some hearts. Beautiful. Oh, okay. Well, that is where I will end this episode for today. And I really hope that I'm leaving you just thinking and maybe curious about that question, like, what if it could be easy? What if we're making it harder? And maybe there are things that we can be doing in our lives, those really small and simple things that can actually put us on a path towards better balance that doesn't involve huge sacrifice, doesn't include major changes to our lives, that doesn't shuffle and really ruffle our feathers in any way that's really going to harm us. But these small and sometimes subtle, but super, super important things can really just help us in making that 1 or 2 degree shift so that we can find that purpose and reignite that passion and tap into ourselves by doing small things that turn into habits that become second nature to us and really allow us to lead our best lives and be those present people that we want to be, and facing every day with the mindset of ease and joy and having fun with it all. So as I mentioned before, you can find the full 3-day workshop in the notes for this podcast recording. Another thing that I'd like to mention is that I do have a free 30 Days for Me guide that really helps you to tap into your own personal well-being using 5 main pillars. And it is something that my workshop participants went through as well. So you can get that free guide by clicking into the podcast notes as well. And you can sign up to get that beautiful, beautiful worksheet that takes you through these 5 pillars of well-being so that you can make small changes to create better balance every single day. If you like this episode, I would invite you to please share it with one person, one friend who maybe needs to hear this analogy or maybe could use that little dose of motivation. And if you did enjoy it, can you please rate this episode and write me a short but sweet review? It really, really helps us to reach more people, which I think is just so, so important in this busy day of and busy time of overwhelm and burnout and people really just finding themselves at their wits' end. I appreciate you so much. And I thank you so much for tuning in and for listening to this episode. Until the next time, take good care.